I'm here in a general sense too, of everything that's happening in the community. And council's got some tough decisions to make, and they've made some, and they need support, I think, in the ones they've made, and will continue to make. And I think we as a public have to be realistic and want the right things and accept what we can.
In Toronto, the Conference of Rural Ontario Municipalities, and I met with cabinet ministers and I heard the Premier speak. The message is not good. The province has an unprecedented $25 billion debt. We are told we are going to need to lower our expectations regarding funding. I've talked with our treasurer, and you will hear him shortly, and he has some very real concerns. He points out that we are not seeing the kind of growth that can support the further withdrawal of provincial funds unless we change the way we are doing business and increase our tax assessment base. He will be speaking shortly about this year's budget. The provincial government notified us in December that we would be receiving $400,000 less in funding. That in itself equates to 2% of what we raise in taxes. What do we do then? We have to be realistic about what services we are providing, for one thing.
Hard services such as roads and bridges, to water, wastewater, to more soft services in terms of what we do with museums and art galleries and what have you. The second thing I want to talk about is the municipal budget, what our expenditures, how that gets translated. You heard the mayor refer to 5.81% really means 3%. And I just think it's worthwhile to just take a little bit to explain how that transition happens. Because it's important to understand when we hear from Mr. Ritchie in just a moment about the dollars and cents, it'll be important to understand how our numbers, our expenditures translate into tax bill numbers. On the process, the mayor outlined that the council and staff have been over the numbers that we're going to be talking about here, and there's a summary of it right there. When we look at everything that we spend and everything that we raise through user fees and what have you, in 2009, the municipality had to raise in taxes $19,560,485. When we do that same process this year, with the pressures that we have on the budget, the $400,000 that we lost through provincial funding, pressures that have come through a reduction in assessment, we've lost some valuable assessment in the city, and then there's also some negotiated agreements in there that have put pressure on that number. What it ends up so far, according to the detail that you'll hear from Mr. Ritchie, is that we have to raise $20,697,674 for 2010, and that's the 5.1% increase. The way that we came up with that $20,697,000 number is we start off by looking. We don't do budgets in the way that perhaps other corporations do them, where we say, well, this year we want to keep our budget increase at 5% or 3% or 6%. We don't start off with a predetermined number. We start off really looking at the services that we provide. Council goes over them all, service by service, and says, this is a service that we should keep, we should augment, or a service we should reduce, a service we should somehow examine. So it's really what could be called a zero-based budgeting approach, because every year we go back and look at exactly what it is we need to do to deliver as a city across the full spectrum. The tax money that is on your tax bill, the amount of money that you write a check for, goes in three different ways. About 56% of the tax bill you pay comes to the municipality. So just over half, 56%, is used to raise that $20,697,674. There's 21% that goes to the county. And the county provides certain services to the city, such as some of the roads are county roads, as you know. They provide social services to the city, and they provide county-wide services such as planning and gray routes and other activities. That is all funded through 21% of what you pay in taxes. The other 23% of your tax bill goes to provincial support of the education system. And that has been a number that's more or less been constant for the last several years. So when you write your tax bill checks for whatever it is, $3,000, $4,000, that money gets distributed that way. So just over half of it comes to the city council for distribution and use. The other 44% goes to either the county or to the province for education.
When I moved to Owen Sound, I was astounded to hear that we have 30 to 32, it varies, full-time firefighters. And I know that the police chief has the benefit under the Police Act. If he doesn't like what the city does, he runs down to Toronto, and they order us to pay whatever we're ordered to pay. I know that. My question for the city manager, does the same apply to the fire? And if not, are we really as a town, because I don't consider ourselves a city, but as a town of 20,000 people, can we really afford 32 full-time equivalents in the firefighting force?
Through the county.
But we're creeping now to 50% of our budget goes to fire and police. And I think it was the mayor of West Gray who was quoted in the paper as saying for his municipality, these trends can't continue.
I'm a businessman, and I know a few businessmen here. When costs go up or my revenues go down, I sure as hell wish I could raise my prices, and I can't. So what I have to do is sit and say, what is it that I can do to provide the same level of service, produce the same product, or whatever that might be, with what I've got? And that again gets into the budgeting end of it, the zero-based, or setting a budget at a level and saying, this is all we've got. We've got $2,009, $2,008. What can we do with it? Not what can we do if we increase the taxes. Thank you very much.